I told you a teenager with no money, no connections, built a political empire worth millions, then paid the ultimate price for influence? That's the story of Charlie Kirk, and trust me, you're going to want to hear this. What it takes for a teenager with nothing but ideas and passion to rise to the center of political power and pay a price no one sees coming? Well, today we're diving deep into the life of Charlie Kirk. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we drop new stories like this every single day at 7 p.m. Charlie Kirk was born in the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois in 1993. Now, on the surface, it looked like a normal upbringing. Family, school friends, but even as a teen, Charlie was different. He wasn't content with just playing video games or hanging out after school. He had an entrepreneurial spirit, an energy that demanded action. At just 18, he had already begun speaking at events, engaging in debates, and networking with influential figures, something most of us only dream about in our 20s. But he didn't have a safety net. No fortune to fall back on, just grit, determination, and a big idea that would change the course of his life. So, let's talk about the grind, because Charlie's story isn't just about flashy speeches or viral videos. You know, growing up in suburban Chicago, he had this fire, this energy, but the reality was nobody was handing him opportunities on a silver platter. People saw him as this young, ambitious kid who was probably going to burn out or get in over his head. And yeah, there were moments when he really struggled to be taken seriously. Imagine trying to pitch your vision for a nationwide political organization while you're still technically a teenager. Funders would sometimes nod politely but dismiss you internally. And at school, older students, professors, even peers, they'd often scoff at him. He also had to manage logistics that most adults would struggle with: staffing, planning events across multiple campuses, fundraising, media strategy, all while balancing homework and social life, if you can even call it that. And let's be real, when you're that young and you're stepping into rooms full of older, more experienced people, there's a lot of imposter syndrome. You start questioning yourself, am I really cut out for this? And that mental load can be exhausting. But here's the thing, every time he stumbled or got knocked back, he learned, sometimes painfully. For example, there were early events where turnout was dismal, or meetings with potential donors that went sideways. And social media, oh man, the trolls and critics were relentless. Tweets, memes, articles, they'd tear apart his ideas, question his credibility, sometimes even attack him personally. And honestly, that's a lot for anyone, but for a teenager, that's a ton. Yet, in those struggles, you could see the foundation being laid. He became sharper, more resilient, more strategic. Every setback was like a test, and he refused to fail it. Not because he was arrogant, but because he genuinely believed in the mission. Pause. And you know, that belief, it's something you either have or you don't. And Charlie, he had it in spades. All right, now here's where things really start to pick up. The big turning point? Founding Turning Point USA. At first, it was humble. A few campus events, some speeches, small gatherings. Nothing flashy. But the difference was, Charlie had vision. He knew exactly what he wanted. A nationwide network of students empowered with a voice, a platform, and a real impact on politics. And the genius part? He figured out early that social media wasn't just for posting selfies. It was this: megaphone. Videos, Instagram posts, short clips, memes. He started using them to connect with students across the country. Suddenly, the kid who was being underestimated, he was getting recognized, shared, talked about. Viral before the term even became trendy in political circles. There was this moment, I like to imagine it, when he realized the power of this reach. He could connect with more students in one viral clip than he could in a dozen campus events combined. And that's when the doors really started opening. Donors, media appearances, interviews, national conferences, opportunities he probably didn't even dream of a year earlier. But let's be real, it wasn't magic. There were endless late nights, mountains of emails, back-to-back meetings, and yes, moments when he probably thought, am I seriously cut out for this? But those challenges, they shaped him. Negotiating with donors, branding an organization, managing staff, coordinating media. He was learning everything on the fly and doing it in the public eye. And here's the thing, What separates a dreamer from a doer isn't luck. It's persistence, strategy, and the willingness to take risks when nobody else will. Charlie built his influence brick by brick. Every misstep, every small win, every sleepless night. It all added up. Pause. And, that's the lesson here. Sometimes the breakthrough isn't a single moment. It's the accumulation of tiny victories, lessons learned from failures, and the grit to keep going when everyone else doubts you. Now let's talk about what really makes Charlie's story, impressive. Turning Point. USA isn't just some small student group, it's a full-blown movement, and with that comes an empire. We're talking multi-million-dollar fundraising, speaking engagements, branded merchandise, events that bring together students, influencers, and major donors. But here's what's fascinating. It's not just money. The real genius is how he monetized influence. Charlie realized early on that people will invest in ideas they believe in, and even more, in people they trust. So students feel empowered, donors feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, and the media, they have a charismatic young face to spotlight. And honestly, that's where his edge comes in. He didn't just build a business, he built a platform for shaping culture, politics, and even the conversation around young conservatives. And in today's world, influence like that is priceless. Social media reach, email lists, event access. It's all part of the ecosystem that makes Turning Point USA not just a political movement, but a thriving, scalable enterprise. And the takeaway here is that influence itself is a kind of currency. Charlie figured out how to turn vision into impact, and impact into sustainability. That's something a lot of people never realize about modern entrepreneurship. Of course, no story of influence comes without pushback. Charlie has had his fair share of controversies, accusations of aggressive tactics, questions about the management of Turning Point USA, and the kind of public scrutiny that can be brutal when you're polarizing. Social media and news outlets love a good story, and Charlie's prominence made him a target. Sometimes, critics argued that Turning Point USA oversimplifies complex political issues, or that it focuses more on optics than substance. There were leaks, public disagreements, and even personal attacks that could have derailed a less resilient person. But here's the thing, controversies in a way also sharpen you. They force you to defend your ideas, rethink strategy, and sometimes, unintentionally, boost visibility. For Charlie, these challenges didn't stop him, they refined him. And honestly, if you're in any high-stakes business or movement, you'll know that criticism is inevitable. How you respond, that's what separates leaders from the rest. Pause. And, in some ways, controversy is just part of the cost of influence. It's messy, it's public, but it's also kind of unavoidable when you're shaking up the system. So, what can we learn from Charlie Kirk's journey? Well, a lot actually, especially if you're thinking about entrepreneurship, influence, or just trying to make a mark in the world. 1. Start young, but be strategic. Age isn't a limitation. Planning and persistence are everything. 2. Leverage every tool available. Social media, networking, events. These aren't distractions, they're your megaphones. 3. Embrace setbacks as lessons. Every failure, every critique, every empty room is training for the bigger stage. 4. Mix passion with business sense. You need heart and smarts. Influence alone won't sustain you. 5. Resilience is the ultimate currency. Critics, stress, and public scrutiny. You either develop the thick skin or get crushed. Honestly, Charlie's story is like a masterclass in modern influence. It's not about luck, it's about grit, strategy, and the willingness to risk everything for an idea you believe in. So here's the big picture. Charlie Kirk went from a teenager in the suburbs of Chicago with an idea to a national figure shaping conversations, building an empire, and influencing millions. His story is a mix of vision, strategy, controversy, and sheer persistence, and it's far from over. Think about it. What would you risk to build influence at that level? To turn a passion into a platform that reaches thousands, maybe millions? That's the question Charlie's story leaves us with. And don't forget, new episodes drop every day at 7 p.m, so hit that subscribe button. Tomorrow, we'll uncover another jaw-dropping story of someone who turned vision into empire. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Until then, remember, influence isn't just about what you know, it's about what you do with it.